Oh, I knew looking at the camera. Is that where I'm? Okay, I just want to make sure I'm here, bro.
You good now?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, let's get it, bro.
All right. You ready? You ready for this?
Hello, audience.
Welcome back to another Couch Potato General Manager video. We are continuing our 2020 NFL Draft recaps. And to round out the NFC North, we have the Chicago Bears. And the Bears did not have a selection in the first round. We know that is associated with the Khalil Mack trade a couple seasons ago. But they did have a pair of second-round picks. And with their first of two second-round picks, they selected Cole Kmet, the tight end out of Notre Dame. And Heather, I want to start with you. Kmet strikes me as one of those prototypical inline tight ends. What do you think about Cole Kmet when you watched him on tape?
Yeah, Kmet, he was my tight end one. I know the class wasn't strong, the tight end class, but he was my number one guy, and it's because of what he does as a blocker. He's an extension of that offensive line. He's very polished. He just looks like all these other Notre Dame tight ends, the Kyle Rudolphs of the world, where they look like 10-year vets, man. They get it done. His powerful hands in the run game. He's aware to get to one and move to the second level. His route running is not as crisp or sharp, but he's a little crafty. He has very strong hands also. I think the biggest question mark will be his lack of speed. Is he going to be able to separate and get open at the next level? That's my biggest question with Kmet. But as a run blocker, he has that, and he's going to be an extension of the offensive line.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
You don't like him?
No. I think that there's a potential. There's a potential here for him to grow into a better player, obviously, and we know the tight end position is one of those positions that, you're playing two positions. You're playing two positions. Yeah, exactly. So man, I think the Bears could have went elsewhere with this pick, but the player, I thought he could prove both in the run and the pass blocking. I thought that his run blocking probably was the better of the two. Obviously, I think his pass blocking. I mean, there's some for the size that he is, for the NFL body that he presents. You would think that he would be a better blocker, but I'm gonna disagree with you, Headley, there. I thought that he had a nice catch radius. I thought that he showed his numbers to the quarterback in the pass game. And I thought that when he caught the football, there's a chance that he could break one and run through tacklers. Not so much break one and run away from people, but break a couple of tackles, make the play bigger than what it really is. No real nuance in terms of route running. You would have thought at Notre Dame it might have been a little bit more polished, but, it is what it is.
The thing about this position, and you both alluded to it, is that it's so difficult to make an immediate impact. And I think, at this point in the draft, and considering the capital that the Bears have put into this position, I know they're trying to get it right. I understand that, but it's a lot to ask of Cole Kmet to come in here and be a substantial contributor right out the gate. And at least for this general manager, and we're going to talk about this more throughout this particular recap, you need results. You need immediate results. You know what I mean? And again, you have an aging Jimmy Graham who just doesn't move the way he once moved. Adam Shaheen has not panned out. There's been some injuries there, but certainly he hasn't panned out. Again, Trey Burton is no longer in town. Injuries kind of claimed his Chicago Bears foray. So I understand the need here, but I think you could probably have found a more impact player. Now, with that being said, Headley, you mentioned Cole Kmet being an extension of the offensive line. This team has to do a better job of establishing the line of scrimmage and running the football. I don't think this team can be successful, just leaning heavily on, either Nick Foles or Mitchell Trubisky. I don't think that's their recipe for success. I think they want to play defense. I think they want to control the time of possession, control the clock, and shorten games. So if Kmet is as good a run blocker as you think, Headley, I think you can certainly extrapolate some immediate value out of him. I just still wonder, at this position, as difficult as it is to transition to the NFL and make an immediate impact, will he do enough for Ryan Pace, to be honest with you, in order for him to keep his job? Moving on to the second round pick, a guy we all really like. Well, I'll speak for myself. Guy I really like, cornerback Jaylon Johnson out of Utah. And Drew, I'll start with you. What do you think about Johnson?
So I got here my notes. I'm going to read it straight off. It says, appears to be a longer cornerback, a guy who, for the life of me, I don't know why he doesn't do the press coverage thing. It's a lot of turn and run. I know that apparently the Utah defense coordinator is a little stubborn. We saw that in the USC game where they just got roasted by Pittman Jr. Not willing to swap sides with the other corner. I guess they live with that. But when he gets his hands on the receiver, they're basically non-existent. Plays both in the slot and the outside. Plays exclusively on the left side. I think that's a Utah thing. And he's about that life. And when I say he's about that life, he's about that in the run game. I know that he was injured this year, so he may not be as much about that life this year because he was injured. But this is the type of cornerback that will eat up short routes for breakfast, short area movement. Seems to be strong suit for him. Excellent recovery when missing the jam or the false step, or has a false step. Smooth every step of the way. I thought, except at the moment of truth, and I know I heard people out there saying, hey, they thought that was one of his better attributes. For me, what I saw, maybe I missed the film, but what I saw is he either fell, slipped, or just didn't turn his head. But he was there. He was there. So that's something to be said.
Yeah, Jaylen Johnson, I admit it was kind of a harder evaluation watching the 2019 tape because it was times where it just looked like he didn't want to, get into the physical parts of the game. But, he was injured like CPGM Drew said. So, playing with that injury, sometimes you lean away from contact. What I did like about Jaylon Johnson was, his length is a plus. He has the traits that NFL coaches wants to coach up. He likes to get his hands on wide receivers and press. He has fluid hip movement. So he has a lot of these good traits. It's just the physical parts of the game, which the 2018 tape showed better because of the injury in 2019.
Yeah, you both mentioned it. The ability to play tight press coverage is coveted at the NFL level. There's a lot of scheming that offensive coordinators do in order to create mismatches and to create free releases. But I think it's imperative that if you're in a press technique and you bail at the NFL level, you're asking for trouble. And of course, Utah didn't always employ the bump and run, but I think Jaylon Johnson has that ability. He has the length, he has the technique, he has the footwork, he has the long speed in order to hold up in tight press man coverage. And I think NFL teams covet that particular skill set, even if they run a more of a zone scheme as it may be a cover 2 look or a cover 3. I think at times you cannot hide cornerbacks in the NFL. And guys who can play that tight press man coverage, to me, always get moved up the list.
No, the last thing I want to say about Jaylon Johnson is this is a big need for the Chicago Bears. So this draft class will depend a lot on his availability to play early. They don't have much other corners. I know they have Fuller, but other than that, they lost Prince. So he needs to step up immediately, man.
No, certainly you're absolutely right. There's a big void there, and they're going to be calling on him sooner rather than later, I would imagine. Well, those 2 picks were the only picks that the Bears had on day 1 or day 2. So we go to day 3, and they have a trio of 5th-round selections. And the first is Trevis Gipson, the defensive end edge player out of Tulsa. Drew and I had an opportunity to see him in Mobile this year, and I wasn't terribly familiar with him before the Senior Bowl, but I came away impressed. There were certain aspects of his game that it was like, okay, he doesn't necessarily have that gear. But then as I continued to watch him, it seemed more like, no, he just doesn't know what he's doing just yet. I think he has the necessary tools and the motor, but he needs some coaching. But I think this is a high upside pick in the 5th round. What do you think, Headley?
Yeah, I agree, man. I think this could possibly go down as their best value pick in this class. Gibson, he plays with this edge. He's a high character, hardworking team leader. He plays through contact. He has these long arms. I think he has like an 81-inch wingspan. So he has these long arms, disengage from blockers, get to the quarterback. He just plays with this hunger and aggression you like, man. You can't coach that. You can't coach the motor. You can't coach with the hunger, wanting to get better. I think he went to Von Miller's pass rushing school as well. So this is a guy that wants to improve and has the capability to do so. So I do like this pick on day 3.
Yeah, I really do too. And it wouldn't surprise me if this ends up being their best pick. Seeing how they obviously didn't have a 1st-round pick. I have power, length, a guy who played inside, but the Bears obviously going to use him to play outside, standing up, coming off the edge. Guy who has plenty of upside. College, they misuse players. We need you here because we want to get this guy and that guy on the field. And so you never see their max potential. And Tulsa did that. And I think the best is yet to come with him. And I have here, let's see here. Yeah, misused. And I have he's a high motor guy with plus effort, with size, length. And I just think that the sky's the limit for this guy. It wouldn't surprise me if he ends up being, third in defensive player of the year, or defensive rookie of the year, something like that, if he's used properly. And I think they have a plan for him. So I would say keep your eye out for this guy.
Definitely. Following up the Gibson pick, the Bears went back to the Senior Bowl and they selected Kindle Dildora out of Georgia Southern. And Drew, I'm going to start with you. Having opportunity to see him live and then ultimately reviewing his tape, what were your thoughts on Vildor?
2018, this man played against Clemson. A guy here did not allow a catch, had a pick where he cut in front of the receiver on like a 2-yard hitch. Compliments of Trevor Lawrence, He looked at home like he was one of the big boys whenever he played, higher competition. Also played against LSU, played well from what I remember. He allowed 1 catch, but was in zone on the goal line. This is a guy that's going to come up and stick you in the face. This is a guy with a lot of fire. I think that I'm going to be real with you. I think that their 2 5th-round picks have potential to be better than the first 2 picks, although I do love Jaylen Johnson. I'm just going to throw it out there.
Jaylen Johnson. Tried him.
Yeah. No, I
ain't trying.
Yeah, I agree that these 2 5th-round picks were impressive. I know the Bears have gone to the smaller school in the past. Some haven't worked out, but I think Vildor, he has a lot of the same attributes as Jaylen Johnson, man. He has these long arms. He plays physical when he's in man press. And like you said, man, I watched the game against LSU, and he looked like, the best player on that team. He hung with those guys, man. He's a first-round pick in Justin Jefferson and another future first-round pick in Jamar Chase. So he showed that he could play up to the level of competition. And I just like his physical demeanor on the football field. I think kind of clean up some inconsistent tackling, but I do like his mentality on the football field.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that sentiment. I think Vildor has the appropriate mentality, and I like the ball skills quite a bit as well. You mentioned Jaylon Johnson in the same breath. These 2 guys, in all likelihood, are going to be tapped to play significant snaps this season in that Chicago Bears secondary. With the 3rd 5th-round pick, the Bears selected Darnell Mooney, the receiver out of Tulane. Drew, what do you think about Mooney? What do you think he ultimately breaks through in terms of this offense? There's a lot of mouths to feed. Again, the biggest question mark being the trigger man, but certainly, do you think Mooney can carve out a role as early as 2020 in Chicago?
Yeah, I think this is a guy who's going to be the speed guy. I know that my guy, I can't think of his name right now.
Anthony Miller?
Yes. It was escaping me. Anthony Miller is a speed guy I wouldn't say he's a speed guy. I'd say he's a quick twitch, kind of get open early in the route kind of guy, a guy who can scheme open as well. But I think that Mooney is the guy who can kind of add that speed element that can open up everything underneath for the tight ends, for Anthony Miller. And this is a guy who, for me, I have here, has a way about him to beat press coverage using his speed and hands to get off the line of scrimmage, a deep threat, a guy who I think has a bright future, if obviously, used properly. But I think that this, I'm not going to say a steal. I can't keep saying that with these 5th-round picks, man, but because like you said, there's a lot of mouths to feed. But he definitely has a role on this offense because it's something that they've lacked.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's a steal because there were some other good 5th-round receivers in this class. Yeah. I think Matt Nagy's probably going to try to scheme this guy open and try to get him in open space. He could take a short pass, take it a distance. But this guy's like, what, 170? He's not that big.
Yeah, but I mean, clearly, Pace, Nagy, they have an affinity for these types of players. You look at Tariq Cohen. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anthony Miller plays a lot bigger than he actually is. You know what I'm saying? So It'll be interesting to see how ultimately Mooney is deployed. But I agree with both of you that the speed element to take some pressure off of Allen Robinson in particular. And I think if Anthony Miller is healthy, that will go a long way for this offense. I think that's important. And of course, if the quarterback can actually get the ball to him, that will also help. Certainly, a healthy Anthony Miller, then you add another speed element in Mooney to the mix, gives this offense some much needed juice and potency. In the 7th round, the Bears selected a pair of interior offensive linemen, Arlington Hamm out of Colorado and Chavis Simmons out of Tennessee State. And Drew, I'm going to start with you. What did you think about these two prospects?
And these were back-to-back picks, by the way. They were one after another with the 226 and 227 pick. But just one word: physical. Both of them are physical. I thought that Hambright, he to me has some limitations in terms of his arm length and his ability to reach and to get out. And then with Simmons, he played guard, he played tackle. But this dude, bro. You want to talk about Aunt Jemima? Bro. You want to talk about log cabin? Bro, he was putting syrup. He was putting IHOP, Denny's. He was looking to kill folks. He looked like a man amongst boys out there at Tennessee State.
This is Ryan Pace again going to the small school ranks. I know Hambright played at Colorado, but he's a JUCO transfer. So, these guys are diamond in the roughs, hopefully for Ryan Pace. And I'm gonna keep bringing up Ryan Pace because I went back to the draft classes from 2015, and it's been a lot of misses, and especially when he tries to go to the small school ranks. We can see Adam Shaheen, guys like that, where it hasn't really panned out as much. So I don't know. I think Ryan Pace is on the clock, man.
Smartest guy in the room?
Yeah, that's the term I use. That's the term I use. You know what I mean? He got, quite the gig at a very young age, and that isn't to say that there aren't mid-30s, late 30s-year-olds that are capable of being a general manager of an NFL organization. I'm not suggesting that, but Ryan Pace has struggled. There's no question about it. Again, as Heather mentioned, if you look back at some of those draft classes, there are a lot of good names, but they're no longer members of the Bears. You know what I'm saying?
That's great.
And you have to hit on more than one or two players in a draft class in order to sustain success. In 5 seasons, we're talking about 3 fourth-place finishes, a third-place finish, and then, of course, 2018, they had an excellent season. But no playoff wins to show for it. I agree with you, Headley. There's just been too many misses. And to be perfectly frank, it isn't limited to when he decides to go to the small school ranks. I think some of the more noted prospects that he's selected just hasn't worked out. You know what I mean? And namely Mitchell Trubisky to this point. You know what I'm saying? That's the elephant in the room. Of course, you bring in Nick Foles. Hopefully that competition spurns something. Either you go with Nick Foles or Trubisky takes his game to another level. And I believe we all agree on this. The most important position group is the offensive line. That offensive line has to be better. The talent that is there hasn't necessarily performed, and you can question the GM. You can question the GM in terms of him putting that talent in place. So putting Ryan Pace on notice is absolutely warranted. You know what I mean? But that isn't to say that the Chicago Bears team doesn't have quality football players. I think they do. I think it's just going to come down to these rookies, really playing well in their first season and taking on a substantial role. I think that's what's going to be necessary in order for this team to break through.
For me, with the Bears, it's a wait and see because again they're in a tough division, and I mean at the end of the day, it's about the quarterback and the offensive line. Period. If the quarterback can play, the Bears, they could possibly run it, but again.
They'll compete with anyone.
Yeah, they'll compete. Yeah, but the problem is hey, did they find a quarterback? Can they? What's going to happen there? That's all I need to know. What's going to happen there? Because if you can tell me what's going to happen there, I can tell you what's going to happen to the Bears.
Falls squarely at the feet of Ryan Pace. You know what I mean? Matt Nagy didn't draft Mitchell Trubisky, and while that may ultimately cost Matt Nagy, who knows? The expectation was Matt Nagy was supposed to unlock Mitchell Trubisky. You know what I mean? He was supposed to be the guy that realized Trubisky's potential. Sum it all up. If that position group and that position does not if they are not markedly improved in 2020, we could be hearing about clearing house in Chicago.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for the Chicago Bears 2020 NFL Draft recap. Please like, comment, and subscribe.